Andy Grove, who was a Hungarian immigrant, entrepreneur, one of the founders of Intel, the CEO of Intel, he was known as the guy that drove the growth phase of Silicon Valley. I mean, this guy was respected amongst all CEOs. He was somebody that some people would have called him even bigger than Steve Jobs. Let me tell you, that's who Andy Grove is. He wrote a book once called Only the Paranoid Survive. God bless his soul. He passed away early this March 2016. Andy did. And those who knew who he was and followed a lot of his content know the industry lost a great man at what he did. If you haven't read his book, Only the Paranoid Survive, even though it's an old book, I highly recommend everybody reading it. The stories may not be relevant, but the concepts will be relevant. I wanted to produce a video because paranoia is a very interesting topic. A lot of people, it's good to be paranoid, it's not good to be paranoid. I think there's 10 things to be paranoid about as an entrepreneur that's very critical. I think paranoia is absolutely necessary. And the ones who are the biggest thinkers are usually the most paranoid entrepreneurs. The smallest thinkers are normally the least amount of paranoia. And I remember, I'm not talking negative paranoia that everybody's out to get you at the workplace, and so you don't perform and you don't talk and you just kind of corner to yourself. And that's small thinking. I'm talking big thinking paranoia like a general would do to say the enemy's going to attack us from here. If they flank us here, we're good protected. That's what I'm talking about, the level of paranoia. So 10 things. Let's go through it. Number one, in my opinion, in no specific order, these are 10 things. Number one, speed of implementation. Speed. To me, speed is probably at the top of my list of paranoia. What do I mean by speed? One, how quickly do we implement an idea that we have that's very effective? I'm paranoid on the speed of there. Number two, sometimes we're moving too quickly where it becomes abrupt and we need to take our time to be more diligent so we don't lose $728,000 on a project we're working on, right? But speed, regardless, is by far at the top of my list of things to be paranoid about. Speed of delivery for customers, speed of delivery for partners, vendors, speed on how quickly we get back to a customer or anybody, speed on email, speed on placement, speed on purchases made, how long does it take to make the purchase, how easy is it, right? From there, how quickly does the next step happen for the product to be sent to them? How quickly, if it's loan, underwriting, if it's anything, everything comes back down to speed as a number. The biggest companies in the world that become way, way too thick became very, very thick because at one point speed was very critical. And they've been flat because speed's no longer a priority to them. Okay, you got to keep that in mind. They forgot about the speed. They forgot about being paranoid about the speed. Number two is time. What is time? Time could be many different things, but I'll explain to you what I mean by time. Time to me is, one, we don't have as much time on getting this done as we think we do. Let's go get it done, right? How much time will it take for this to be done? So am I being diligent on the amount of time it takes for me to get this project done? Or are we just kind of winging it? Oh, it's going to take, like we had a project that, the technology guy told me it's going to take 90 days. Absolute lie to us. And he got money, everything that was taking place. It's been 9 months, no delivery of a product. Not happy about that. Why did that take place? Front end, there wasn't proper preparation with this one developer that we hired, that we had to hire some other developer. And this developer sold himself very well on what he did. Okay, I'd love to give his name away, but I'm not going to give his name away yet because if he delivers, he's fine. But sometimes it's the development of a product. Sometimes it's a time that they say it's going to take and it doesn't come through. Sometimes somebody tells us we can only do it in 60 days, but they're lying. Why? We didn't ask enough questions. We should ask questions. So I can't sit and blame. I should take responsibility and address more questions. Our team should have been a little bit more diligent. What can we do to be better with this time part, right? Another one time could be how urgent we are. How urgent are we about getting the answer to a question? Why do we take 2 weeks to get an answer to this question? Why can't we get that question answered within 2 hours? Why don't we contact the people to get that question today? I want the answer to that question today. So why is it taking such a long time to get the question answered? Even faster. Why, if we needed these 3 people to hire, why are we taking so much time? We needed to hire these, this person over here. Why? We need to get this vendor. How come we're taking so much time? That's the time part. I'm paranoid about that part. And I think entrepreneurs who are not generally, everything becomes lackadaisical and everybody else follows that same exact culture. Number 3, who kind of goes with number 2, is deadlines. I'm paranoid about deadlines. Are we going to hit this deadline? Is this thing going to get done? It's similar to, but it's kind of not, because time can be so general. This is purely deadlines. Being paranoid about deadlines being met. You make an announcement for something's going to be launched on this time. How paranoid are you that that launch is going to take place? How does the team feel about that deadline not being met? What are we doing about that part, right? Paranoid about deadlines. Number 4, internal systems. How efficient are your internal systems? What type of product are your internal systems producing? Are your internal systems producing the best type of product? Is the experience the best type of experience that it is producing? What needs to be adjusted for it to be more efficient, faster, more streamlined? Is it duplicatable? Is it something that anybody can do? Is it a system that if you hire another person can come immediately and do exactly what that person was doing for the last 3.5 years? Do we have a system like that? Is it a system in a way where we hire 4 employees, read this manual, got it? A week from now I can do the same exact thing. Is there a system for that? How efficient am I with the systems internally where everything's going to be working good together and it's smooth, there's no glitches? How great is that system? That's the system, right? That you're paying attention to. The next one is innovation. There's a lot of paranoia in innovation because, again, big companies are not paranoid about innovation because they don't ever think they'll be passed up. Big companies are typically extremely arrogant and cocky and we're the best and we're going to this and that, and they're just more from there. And usually a younger company comes out and says, we're not the best. We are not cocky. We are not there. You are bigger than us. You are better than us. But man, we're hungry. And let's see who's going to win. Ready? Let's go fight. Let's see who's going to do it. Because innovation, speed, improve. How can we do it? Innovation. How can we improve? A lot of this comes together, and you got to be having a level of paranoia on whether innovation is still taking place in your company, or is it business as usual. Number 6, energy. I've talked about this a lot lately. You know, studying all the contentment. How's your energy? Do you still have the same enthusiasm, excitement? Are you getting too content because you've had way too many victories? It's being paranoid about your own energy. Is your energy still, you know, at the highest level of energy where other people are wanting to emulate and be around? Next, 7. Paranoid about the most important numbers and measures to study, okay? So a lot of times you have, as an entrepreneur, you can measure hundreds of different numbers. There's so many different things as an entrepreneur you can measure, so many of them. But what's your number one? What's your number one thing you measure the most? Think about that. Not, you know, some people say, well, the most important thing to measure is profits. Why? Because you're taking profits home? You know, there's a guy that was working for an attorney who was telling me, man, you know, working for this guy who owns this law firm, every month, profits come in, he takes all the profits, leaves everything else behind. Well, then your profits is the most important for you because you're only thinking about yourself. I don't know how many people are excited about working for that company where the CEO's most important thing is profits. Now, this doesn't mean profits are not important because you're going to go out of business. Not at all. Profits are important, but it's not number one. Is it top-line revenue? Is it growth? Is it paying off debt? Is it being debt-free? Is it how much cash you have? What is the measure? Is it how many employees you have? Is it how many vendors you have? How many partners you have? How many products you have? What is it? To me, the most important measuring stick is subscribership to be paranoid about. I spoke to a company that they brought in, they came and met with me. They say, you know, all the stuff that's taking place with our company. I said, tell me, how is your subscription going higher? How many subscribers have increased? How many? How many users have increased? So for instance, let's just say I'm a company that was accustomed to having 1,000 sales per month. Hypothetically, I have 1,000 sales per month. And that 1,000 sales was doing $1 million a month for me. Let's just throw a number out there. Now I'm doing 300 sales per month, but I'm still doing $1.1 million. I'm very worried. I am very paranoid. But if I take that 1,000 customers that bought from me, they could have bought 7 different products, but I want to know how many customers bought from me. 1,000 users logged on and bought a product from me, and it's $1 million. I don't care about the $1 million. I want to know how I can get this 1,000 customers buying from me to 2,000 customers buying from me. Even if that million is 1.7 million and it's not 2 million, I'm not worried. I now have 2,000 customers. Because I can always improve this, but I can't improve subscribership. This gives birth to everything else. So I'm very paranoid about subscribership. I am very paranoid about this area to measure. This gives birth to everything else. What is your number one that you're most paranoid about every day that keeps you up at night, that you wake up with every single morning? Next one, number 8, competition. Competition is really not on the top of my list, But you got to pay attention to your competition. You got to pay attention to reading the paper to see these people are coming out with this, they're launching this product, that's coming with this. You got to know. Why? Is it because everything you do is reaction based on what they do? No, but you got to kind of pay attention to see what they're doing, because they're definitely paying attention to you as well. How high is the level of paranoia on that? Not that high, because if you're always playing, Napoleon always said, they asked him, they said, which strategies do you follow when it comes down to warfare? He says, no one's. I use my own. Now that's Napoleon. Everybody followed Napoleon's philosophies and Alexander's philosophies. Right now, secretly, he's probably copying somebody's. But Napoleon was about having certain philosophies and action plans in place that maybe nobody thought about, and everybody wanted to emulate him, right? So, but you still got to pay attention to the enemy. They have now 73,000 soldiers. This army has 186 tanks. They have 62, jets, and they have this much nuclear. You guys, as a country, you got to know those things. The same way you got to know what your enemies have as well at disposal, as much numbers as you can get. Number 9, new laws and legislation. Every industry, real estate, insurance, finance, technology. What are some regulations that's taking place? What are some things that maybe a new person that's going to take in office, how is that going to affect your business if this party takes over, and if that party takes over, if this person gets elected, if that person gets, do you kind of need to know a little bit about that? Yes, you do. You need to be educated about that, because if somebody's a front runner that's going to be elected, and they're telling you, I'm going to do this, 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 and you're like, for instance, imagine if I'm a health insurance business, okay? And I know Obamacare is coming up. I spoke to a health insurance guy yesterday, 1,000 agents they have, and their business has gone lower and lower and lower, health insurance has, because it's just a complete different ballgame. So I'm speaking to health insurance companies. Those who were not prepared for Obamacare, they took a very big hit, because Obamacare minimized insurance, commissions, a lot of different things, and they lost competition. They raised premiums 39%, Blue Cross, blah. I can't afford to buy this. Employees are dropping because they can't afford it. So they're going with short-term medical. You gotta know that legislation could possibly affect your business if you don't, and it's not gonna happen. Oh, it's not going to happen. You got to assume that it is going to happen. How are you going to react to it? Every industry has laws and legislations that you got to be prepared for. The great ones already have a plan of action in case that does take place. And the last one, let me tell you what the last one is. The last one to be paranoid about is your leadership team. The last one to be paranoid about is your leadership team. A great coach is very paranoid about the energy in the locker room. A great coach is very paranoid about the captain of the team if he's leading everybody else. What are his habits? What is he doing when he's taking the players to his house or to dinners or parties? What bad examples is he teaching to them? Well, maybe he's not the captain. Maybe you got to change the captain. He could be the best player, but he's not the captain. Somebody else needs to be the captain. The best player isn't necessarily the leader of a team. Remember that. The best player is not necessarily the best leader on the team. It's very rarely the best player is also the leader. Very rarely. So you got to be paranoid about who you put as the face of your company and who you put leading everybody else, because who you choose may be the person that will give birth to a lot of negative, low standard type of leaders. And you got to be very, 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 very diligent about paying attention to that. If you don't, standards will drop. And typically leaders who are not touching everything, who are not on the road touching, shaking people's hands, you generally don't know everything that's taking place. So those are 10 things that I have that I would be paranoid with as an entrepreneur. You may have other ones that I would love to hear yours. You can comment on the bottom. If you have any questions about anything I covered with you, you can also post the comments on the bottom. If you haven't read the book, Only the Paranoid Survive by Andy Grove, I highly recommend you read that book. And if you're watching this video on a complete different website, you can always come back to patrickbaydavid.com. There we go. And you can have a ton of content about entrepreneurship on patrickbaydavid.com. And last but not least, please be sure to subscribe to this channel as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.